You want to hear another dirty Kristi Noem story? All right, I have plenty, but this one's kind of important, and it actually has to do a little bit with Kilmar Obrego Garcia. So this is when she was the governor of South Dakota, and I told you about how it was very important for her to align herself with border issues. Like, even before she was nominated for DHS secretary, like, they knew that that was the role that they were going to put her into, but obviously, how do you do that when you're in the middle of nowhere? There's this man called Charles Merivale. So this is him. He is a member of the Sioux tribe and Native American through and through, right? Native American, never been to Mexico, has nothing to do with anything Mexican, right? So she holds a press conference, and for some reason she went to his Facebook page and took a bunch of his photos and put them up, pictures of him like on the reservation and doing whatever. And she said, and this man right here lives on one of our reservations. He is connected to Mexican drug cartel, trafficking, and murder for commission. And now, unfortunately for him, before this happened, he did have some charges that he needed to go to court for schmucks, right? Nothing crazy. Well, he argued that there was just this huge press conference with his photos everywhere, basically alleging that he is part of all of these crimes that he's not a part of. And obviously, he tried to argue that he couldn't get a fair jury and he couldn't get a fair day in court because everybody thought that he was associated with something that he wasn't. But the judge didn't throw it out or do a retrial or anything because she said, well, the charges weren't pertaining to those crimes that you didn't commit, so it didn't matter. And I don't think that they had the resources to fight back. But remember how I've talked a lot about political forecasting. Like, I want to be a political forecaster, and that I could say, hey, these are the things that are in place, this might happen, to give people extra context without fear mongering. But the day that they did that to Garcia, I was like, this is exactly like the Merivale case here in South Dakota. And of course, the guy here ended up getting extra punished for sticking up for himself. But I was like, what they're going to do is they're going to bring him back and they're just going to make something up. Now, not only is it diabolical that she just went to some man's Facebook, took them and used them at a press conference to basically start a war on immigration, but it also started conversations about her wanting more access to reservations because there must be all of this cartel activity there. And it is completely unfounded, completely untrue. And how else does this tie into what's going on today? Well, something you have to consider is at this point in time, she had driven out all of her chiefs of staff. She went through 5 and 4 years, I want to say. And this is when Corey Lewandowski comes into the picture. This wasn't on accident. This was deliberate. This is how they start the whole racketeering money from all these accounts, right? And my argument is this: he was also a Trump advisor at the time. So not only were these in-kind payments and stuff corrupt, but the fact that as an acting governor, she was making choices to align with her eventual transcendence into Trump's administration, meaning Corey Lewandowski was actually dictating every single thing she did as governor, particularly towards the end, meaning that I not only believe that this guy has a case, but I do believe it's part of a much larger scheme, right? But it also shows me something else. I've often said that one of the biggest things, the only thing keeping me from making a real difference is just money and power, right? And they know that because when people don't have a lot of money, it's really hard to resist. And I can't help but think if the community would have come together and really stood up for Merivale, I wish there was some way to do that. Even if it didn't impact his case, but to just say, hey, governors shouldn't go to private citizens' Facebook pages and, I don't know, accuse them of very serious crimes in press conferences, which should be a given, then we wouldn't be in this situation. And it's why I also say, there isn't acts of resistance too small, because just think about all of the ways that the world would be different if at any point I was listened to, other South Dakotans were listened to, and I don't just mean with Kristi Noem, I mean with everybody. And so that's why I really do believe in striking the foundation and being as aggressive as I can with the small guys. And I'm a small guy, so it might not make that much of a difference, but I do think that if we all resist, it might help, right?